Hello and welcome back into another episode of Craven Some Raven. This is going to be my preseason week three review of the Ravens versus the Philadelphia Eagles in the preseason game that we ended up winning due to inclement weather. There was some lightning, so they ended up just canceling the game, which kind of sucked because, I like to predict these games and I end up putting money on it. And as I won the bet, technically, it is null and void because the game technically didn't finish, so they didn't pay out. And I ended up putting some extra money on the Ravens game. And of course, I make a bigger money bet. I mean, not a lot of money, but fucking damn it, they're not going to pay out for that. But either way, it was a very good game when it comes to at least the players that we were starting, the guys who came in first. Now, it wasn't our starting offensive line. We had a lot of starters sitting out, but we went up 26-0 heading into the third quarter. So at halftime, it was a shutout. So anytime you can get a whole half, that's a shutout. That's a very good look for your football team. Obviously, they started coming back in the third quarter. They kept picking on Maurice Kennedy, and they kept moving the ball with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I guess Arcega-Whiteside, they kept saying Arcega when I was listening to the Eagles broadcast. When I first originally watched it, I was watching it, and they were using the Eagles announcers because it was in Philadelphia or wherever they play. And so I was listening to the game with our guys, with Jerry Sandusky and Brian Billick, and when Jerry Sandusky first called our J.J. Arcega Whiteside, he said it super weird, but then he kept saying J.J. Arcega, so I guess someone told him that's how you pronounce it. So maybe I've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time because it's a C, A-R-C, Ega. So why the fuck is it Arcega? Maybe it's from his heritage. Arcega-Whiteside. I guess he's Spanish, so that's a terrible accent. But, it is what it is. But it sucked to see him do really well against our guys. Once again, picking on Maurice Kennedy. But it's encouraging for me because I thought he could be a good player. So at least it proves to me that he can dominate against non-starters. So, that's a little bit of a boost to my ego, like, hey, I was right about this guy. What do you know? So that's encouraging for me, but not for our team as a whole. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, excuse me, got to get that in there. He might not even be a top 3 receiver on that offense, so I think they'd be dumb not to use him because he's proven that he can take over games. Even at Stanford, he freaking killed it. There was that one game where he put up over 200 yards and just completely and utterly dominated. And it looked like he was on his way to do that yet again against the Ravens. But thank you, Thunder and Lightning. Thor, I guess, blessed us with some God of Lightning, God of Thunder. But, yeah, so the game was canceled. And he didn't get the opportunity to put up 150 yards because that's what it was looking like it was going to be. But I guess I like to break down player by player. And I'll start with the offense. Obviously, Lamar Jackson did not play. I guess he got his work in with the Eagles, and our starting offensive line was not playing. So why even risk it? I know the third preseason game is the dress rehearsal, but they thought they liked what they saw from him enough in practice that they felt it was unnecessary for him to start. And that's kind of like a theme going around. This new deal, what is it, the player, either way, the thing that's up in 2020 where they can change rules, and the CBA, they can change rules and change different things about player contracts and all that stuff. Conversations started coming up about changing up the preseason schedule. What is the purpose of it? Should we shorten it? Add regular season games? And I think the preseason, it's invaluable. But, once this conversation started about should we change the preseason, now all of a sudden everyone's playing the preseason differently. Uh, a lot of the preseason product on the field, it wasn't as good. And then the conspiracy theorist in me says, "Hey, coincidence? I think not." Okay, there's a reason everything in preseason is starting to change now. Once the conversation started about changing the game rules and the preseason rules, or what goes down in the preseason. And it's very similar to something else I saw, and then this isn't really breaking down the game, but every single special teams play, there's an 80% chance that there is going to be a penalty, or at least 80% of the time, whenever there's a special teams play, there is a penalty. And I think, I've heard rumors like, oh, are they going to get rid of it like they did in the AAF? They were using the AAF to try these things out because it was an affiliate of the NFL. And so they were going to use rule changes in that league to kind of see how it would work. And the way they changed the rules this past offseason, and I think in previous off seasons before, with special teams play, kickoffs and punt returns, and they made it apparently super hard to not be penalized, because there is almost a penalty on every single special teams play. And I think this is the NFL tweaking the rules a bit to make it so annoying to watch that they're like, well, why don't we just cut it out? And this was their plan the whole time. They wanted to cut out special teams plays. So to do that, they made it super unenjoyable to watch, when it used to be one of the most fun plays to watch. It could change a game instantly. And now they've made it impossible for anything fun to ever happen. And it's just super rare that you get a punt return for a touchdown or a kickoff return for a touchdown. They're just making it not fun to watch with all these goddamn penalties. And I think it's by design. I think they did it on purpose. Now you could say, oh, well, what if they change the rules? The players got to learn how to abide by the rules, I should say. But it just seems, the conspiracy theorist in me thinks that there's something afoot here, that the NFL is up to some tricky bullshit, because they are a huge corporation, and anytime there's a lot of money involved with a business, there's usually some ugly shit behind the scenes. There's some bones in the closet. And in this case, I don't know. I think they're just messing with the product on the field to try to get something out of the game, and they're just trying to get the fans' approval when they do it. They could have just made the rule, hey, no more special teams, and everyone would have been upset, but we would have gotten over it. But what they have to do is they got to get the fans on their side. Like, oh, God, this is so tough to watch. All these goddamn penalties. And eventually every common fan's going to think, why don't we just get rid of special teams? And the NFL's like, yeah, I guess we could do that, even though it was their fucking idea in the first place. But either way, that's not breaking down the game. That's just the thought I had. And we're going a little bit off the rails here. That's what I do. This thing's not scripted. I have some things I want to talk about, sometimes some notes. This episode, I don't have any notes. I literally just rewatched the game, so everything's still pretty fresh in my mind. I did the condensed version, so it was just the plays. I slowed down a little bit, did a little bit of replay on my own, just to get a second look at some plays and some players. But other than that, man, I think towards the end of that game, before I start breaking down the offense like I was started doing like 5 minutes ago, man, the Eagles, they should change their colors to yellow, because god damn, they were getting flagged. And right before the game got delayed and then eventually canceled, this game got ugly. It was nothing but penalty after penalty on both sides of the ball. Even the Ravens were just committing too many penalties. And even the Eagles fans, you could hear them booing, because there was another penalty. It was like the fourth play in a row that there was a penalty, and they were booing, and it was on us, and they were still booing. So it's like, that's how bad it was, where the home team is booing for a penalty for the visitor. Like, you never want to boo a penalty, that helps you guys out, but it was just so unfun to watch at a certain point. It's like, god damn it, the product on the field not looking good. So with that being said, I guess finally now I'll break down the offense. I kind of talked a little bit about Lamar Jackson, him not playing, so I'll move to our second quarterback, Trace McSorley, who, damn, he had a hell of a game. He looked poised. He was dropping dimes. He made all the right decisions. Maybe not all the right decisions, but he made good decisions. He didn't throw that pick. The once a game Trace McSorley stare down pick, bad throw pick. He didn't do any of that. And maybe he was just showing out for his hometown, or not really his hometown because he's from Virginia. But, he played at Penn State for so long, and so there was a lot of Penn State fans there. A lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans are also Penn State fans. So them seeing Trace McSorley ball out, they were like, yep, there you go, baby. That's our Trace. Trace Unitas, I heard someone call him, which is hilarious. Now, he threw for 2 touchdowns and ran 1 in. And on the throwing touchdowns, he threw a dime to Michael Floyd, right over the shoulder, perfectly placed. There's nothing the defender could have done because it was damn good coverage too. And it was beautiful, man. That was a beautiful throw. Just dropped it in right on a rope, right on the pylon, and he just dashed in maybe a yard into the end zone, and boom, touchdown. And then on the second one was right before the half, throwing-wise, right before the half. And they had that weird, crazy drive that was kind of back and forth with penalties and some good plays, some bad plays. There was even like a push-off with Jaleel Scott, and it was like, that's no fucking push-off. And there's like other plays where there's even more hand-fighting and the refs don't call anything. I'm breaking down the offense, but these fucking refs, man, it's so inconsistent with what they call. It's super fucking annoying. I wish there was just no holds bar, no flags, go fuck yourself, no rules football, but then it would just basically be UFC. So, if there's going to be a team sport with rules, there's obviously going to be some controversy with no matter what it is. There's always going to be a weird flag. No matter how they change the rules, there's always going to be a weird flag. But with that toss to Jaleel Scott, that was beautiful. He put it up super freaking high, and with Jaleel Scott's height, he just went up and plucked it out of the air. And then he had a running touchdown too, where he ran to the right side. He was looking to pass, and he didn't like what he saw, and he ran for it, and he got the ball over the goal line. And it was super close. It looked like his knee might have been down, but it wasn't. So after further review, the touchdown stands. And so he crossed the plane with the ball in his hands. And I thought he looked really good all game. Like I said, making good decisions, dropping dimes. There was that one play, I don't know if this is Trace McSorley or more, just the offensive scheme, and I can't wait to see, what else they do. But it was like a wishbone formation, somewhat like a reverse wishbone, where Trace McSorley behind the center, and then he had 2 tight ends. No, he had who was it? Nick Boyle and Patrick Ricard to his left and to his right, and then Justice Hill behind him, and it was a fake run to the inside, and then he did like a spin, a little twirl, and passed it outside to Michael Floyd, and the play fake brought that corner in, and he was already playing off, and so Michael Floyd was able to run up and get 16 yards real quick, and I thought that was just a beautiful play. Trace McSwirly, I'm calling him, because he got the ball, swirled, and passed. It was a thing of beauty. That was a well-designed play, and I just can't wait to see Lamar in that kind of formation, because there's so many things you can do. Where you got the lead blockers, you can just give it to the running back, or you can have one of those tight ends flip out and get behind the line on like a screen type situation, or do that little swirl and pass it to the wide receiver on the outside. And I imagine if that was Hollywood Brown, man, he would have gotten more than 16 yards and possibly a touchdown, because if he makes that one guy miss or he outruns that one corner, he is gone to the house. The safety doesn't have enough time to get over because he's already been sucked up with the run fake. And if you think you don't do any of that, do the twirl, don't throw it, and then just run it to the outside, man. Everything that Greg Roman has been showing, it just looks like you can do so many different things off this one play, and that's the beauty of kind of great coordinating or great play design. It's one look, but you can do many like a multitude of things from that one look. And that's how you really get defenses on their toes, because like, oh, they're showing this play again. All right, what do we got to watch for? We got to watch for this and this, and it causes the whole defense to kind of think more. When they say, what have you done to improve this offseason, or how has things changed from year 1 to year 2, or basically any other year? They're like, oh, well, the game's slowing down for me. I'm not thinking so much out there, and that's the key. You don't want, as a defensive player, you don't want to have to think. You just want to be able to play and react instantly. There is no thought process. You don't want to have to use your brain, just your body, even though the brain is part of the body. But that's a different discussion, a philosophical question, you may say. But so when you can do so many things off of one formation, it causes everyone on the defense to say, "Oh shit, who's it going to this time?" And if you can execute well with that type of play design, you can find which is open. If it's like a quadruple option where it's like, all right, Lamar, you can go here, 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 or here. Make the right decision. And if he can, that it's unstoppable. So, all right, if you guys go here, then we'll go here. It's a great way to have a sustainable offense, because if you can't stop it, you can't stop everybody on one play. So, looking good. I like what I see from that. But I guess we'll move to the offensive line. And no one impressed me, but James Hurst, goddamn, he did not look good. I guess James Illuminor was not in, so we weren't able to hate on him, but he did not look good at all, man. He was getting pushed. He was getting shedded. There was nothing great that I took out of, like, each play. Every single time that I looked at him, he was playing awful. So there's nothing else I can say. Who else? Zeus, OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., Orlando Brown Jr. He didn't have a great game either, man. He was getting beat on, because they got some fast defensive ends. Now, if you got a defensive end who's trying to use power, we're golden. We're good. But if you got a small finesse guy, Orlando Brown is going to have trouble. He is just a little bit too slow, and his technique, I don't think, is up to snuff with the likes of Ronnie Stanley. So I didn't think he played terribly, but he did not have a good game. And obviously the Eagles, they do have a very good and deep defensive line. They had most of their starters, I think, except for Cox. I forget his first name. Not Morgan Cox. Morgan Cox is our Cox. That's our cack. So, other than that, yeah, no one else really stood out. I didn't hear any screaming, so I know Ben Powers didn't get a pancake. But there were just people in the backfield all game. The offensive line as a whole wasn't playing well. And, it's understandable, because that was kind of our second offensive line besides Matt Skura and Orlando Brown. But even that, I mean, it just didn't look that great. But I mean, every single offensive line, the second team is not going to do as well versus the second team of the defense. That's just the way the NFL is built, or the way the offensive line position has been trained in college, and the way it translates to the NFL. They're just not as ready. So it's rare when you get someone who can come in right away and have a lot of success. I didn't really see much from anybody else on the offensive line. I didn't go and look and say, I mean, if they held up, I'm not going to highlight them. If they make a good play and I notice that and they do it consistently, maybe. I just didn't watch the offensive line as much this game, and no one else came to note, so I guess that is a positive. But, that there's a lot of plays where people were just in the backfield and got into Justice Hill, got into Trace McSorley. Now, Trace McSorley, he was able to evade a lot of those rushes, which I thought was awesome, and same with the running back. So let's just move on to the running backs, because Justice Hill, he was the start of that game. Obviously, Mark Ingram did not play. Gus Edwards did not play. Kenneth Dixon did not play. So we were relying on the likes of Justice Hill, DeLance Turner, and Tyler Irving. And I thought Justice Hill played great once again. It's very rare that the first guy takes him down. I think only on 2 runs, the first guy that touched him or got in his way was the one to make the tackle. I think he might actually even be leading the league in missed tackles so far this preseason, because first, he's played a lot, and there's been a lot of people in the backfield. And so he hasn't broken a big one yet, but man, once he's playing with the starting offensive line and he gets a hole, I think he's gone. He's out of there. And I think, this first week when we are playing the Dolphins, I think if he comes in, he will have some success, because I don't think the Dolphins have as good of a D-line as that we faced in preseason. I think their starting defensive line is not as good as the Jags, as the Packers, and as the Eagles. And even the Redskins, they have a pretty good defensive line. So I think, we're not going to ever see the full potential of Justice Hill in this preseason, because he's playing behind the secondary offensive line, and they just aren't as good. They can't hold up, especially against teams with decent defensive line play. So I think with the Dolphins, their defensive line isn't that great, so I'm hoping to see some big runs from him in the first week. I mean, even if they decide to play him, which you don't know. But I thought Justice Hill played pretty well. There was that one bobbling catch I remember seeing. That was kind of weird. It's just get the ball, man. Don't bobble. Especially we were right there down by the end zone. That would have been bad if you dropped that one. And with the Lance Turner, I liked what I saw from him again. He had a couple negative plays, but they were that whole play was both times when there were negative plays. There was a screen it was blown up, and there was one where Trace McSorley ran into him, and it was dead. But man, I like the way he plays, man. He doesn't look as explosive or as fast as a Justice Hill, but man, he just gets off of tacklers. He just looks like he's got butter on him or something, because he doesn't look that fast, and he ends up people just slip off of him. He makes a quick little move, and it just looks smooth as hell. And I just love what I see from him. I really hope he makes the team. If I was designing this squad, I would say he's making the team over the likes of Kenneth Dixon. That's just me. But I really like what I saw. He broke one pretty decently long one on kind of like a delayed handoff, but he's got that big playability, and I just love seeing that. I want that in the players. I like the big play. This offense, that's what they need. They need playmakers, and I think Lance Turner, he is a playmaker, but they're not really putting him in good situations, and I want to see him play with the ones too, just like Justice Hill. But they might not make the team because they sat Kenneth Dixon, which I don't know fucking why. I think he's on the bubble. I don't think he's done anything to prove that he's not on the bubble. So Tyler Irving also, he didn't really have much success in the run game, but he is the better punt returner compared to Cyrus Jones. But when it comes down to how you want to build your team, do you want to have Tyler Irvin, maybe a better punt returner, but also not a very great running back, or do you want Cyrus Jones, who will help you in the slot, even possibly starting? We don't really know how the Ravens are going to do that. We'll get to that when we get to the defense. But how does this all work out at the punt return position? Because Tyler Irvin, he is a better punt returner, but he's not a very good running back, and I like our other running backs more. So that's going to do it for the running backs. I guess we'll go over to tight ends. Oh, God bless you. Woo-wee, buddy. So Mark Andrews, he had a great game. He had that one catch where the guys went for him. 2 guys who were tackling him, or should I say not tackling him, they were both fighting for the ball, and he had 2 hands on the ball. They weren't getting it out. He had his mitts all over it. So they're trying to go for the ball. So Mark Andrews was able to drag them about 10, 15 yards by himself, put the team on my back. Yup. And he dragged him down into the red zone, or down to the 10-yard line. That was a beautiful play. Loved what I saw from that. Hayden Hurst, he only had 1 catch. But it was kind of a beautiful catch. It was on an out route, and he really had to extend his arms and still caught it on the run, so he was able to get out of bounds. And I think that was on that. I believe that was going into the second half, that part of that drive. I think it was. So that was a beautiful play by him. Nick Boyle, I didn't really see much from him. He blocked a little bit. That's about it. He didn't catch any balls. And Pat Ricard on offense played pretty decently. Um, Made some blocks. Nothing as of to note really. Um, there was one weird formation where they only had like a center and two guards up front, and then out wide on the right side, it was whoever our right tackle. It was Zeus and Nick Boyle with Chris Moore behind him. So they had trips on both sides, and so the right was our right tackle Orlando Brown Jr. and our tight end Nick Boyle. With behind them was Chris Moore, and then on the left it was I think James Hurst, our left tackle. Then Patrick Ricard, and then behind him was Miles Boykin. I thought it was a very weird formation. They spread them out, but then they ended up just running it, and Justice Hill just ran right into the offensive line, the jumble of people there. I thought it was kind of a dumb play, and I like paused it and looked at it and like, what can you run out of this that's going to have success? I think the best option would be to pass it out of that, but not even on like a screen situation, like send someone downfield, like have one of the tight ends sneak out. But it was just a super weird formation because the whole middle of the field was kind of open, so I would have liked to see, fake that kind of screen and then just send someone over the middle. But, very, very weird formation that just was not very successful. And it's such a weird formation. It's like, why would you do that in the preseason? I mean, maybe they just wanted to see if it would work, and it didn't. So hopefully they just kind of scratched that idea. I mean, it wasn't a very good looking play and formation where it's just I can't really envision the way it's going to work. Maybe I'm not the great football offensive mind, so maybe they just wanted to show the formation and see what the defense does. Other than that, though, maybe there's something that Greg Roman's cooking up that will work. But from what I saw, there's not much that could really do all that much. So I guess I'll just move on to the wide receivers. And how can we start talking about the wide receivers without talking about our first-round draft pick, baby? Marquise Brown played. Holy hell. I should have mentioned that towards the top of the episode, but it kind of spaced me. I ended up talking about the penalties and the conspiracies of the NFL, but yeah, Marquise Brown, the first time he played in a game situation. Now, it wasn't with Lamar Jackson, so we don't really know, but he looked fast. He caught the ball a bunch. It looks like the Ravens are going to try to get him involved. The very first play of the game, they passed it to Marquise Brown. He ended up just catching it and going down real quick. Maybe the coaches told him, hey, if you get the ball and there's people around you, just go down. But the throw to the left side, it was a really high thrown ball, and he ended up catching it, caught it with his mitts. It was like, boom, he plucked it. There's another one on a quick out. He caught it with his left hand, and the ball was thrown before he even made his cut. So that was awesome. And caught the ball kind of one-handed, brought it in. Beautiful. And then there was that jet sweep, but the defender kind of blew it up. They left that guy. They didn't block him, and that was by design because they're hoping that he crashes down with the play fake. But, he read that right away, and they knew. They practiced with him all week. They knew they were going to try to jet sweep with him because he's got that speed. But, man, if he got around that guy, it was smooth sailing for about 20 yards. I think with his speed, it probably would have been like a 20-yard play. It's looking like the Ravens are going to try to really get him involved. And maybe it was just, it's his first time playing, so they wanted to get him warmed up. But I thought he played excellent. And, the way I was rewatching the game, they didn't have I have Game Pass, but they didn't have the coach's view, or the all 22, where you can basically see everybody on the field, so you can really break down everybody's play, or what everybody kind of does on each and every play. Makes it easier for the coaching aspect. That's what they call it, the coaching tape. So it wasn't really easy for me to see if he was open or whatever, but I saw Brian Baldinger break down what he was doing, and he was open every single play. He was open. Okay, and that is a very good sign. I think he's going to be used a ton in this offense because he continues to get open. So I think he's he's going to have a very good season. Fingers crossed. Maybe Eric DeCosta hit on this guy. But, the hands were the main thing. He didn't really have drop issues in college, but, if a guy can always get open, how are his hands? And they looked pretty damn good. He also cut that 2-point conversion that ended up getting called back, but he got open on that one. And I remember after the game they talked to him and they asked him about the 2-point play. He's like, yeah. Right when I saw the defense, I was like, oh, I'm getting open for sure. And he was wide open in the end zone. And with such small throwing windows and it being tough to throw in the end zone. That's why they say the spread offense will never fully work in the NFL, just because once it gets down into the red zone, the windows get super tight, and when defenses play zone, they're going to be able to get their hands on the ball. But he was able to get open in such short yardage. He's so quick, and man, he's going to add an element to this offense that I think just can't be stopped. You can't stop speed. You can't teach speed, and you can't stop speed. So that was very encouraging to see that from him. I don't know if he'll play in this 4th preseason game, but he looked good. Goddamn, he looked good. Another receiver that impressed me was Michael Floyd. I didn't think he's going to make this team. He might still not make this team, but he's making a case these past couple weeks. He's playing better in practice. And versus the Eagles, he had a hell of a game. He had that one touchdown catch, beautiful, got open. He had that Trace McSorley, that route. And then there's another one I thought he should have caught. It was on a 2-point conversion. They kind of threw a fade to him, and it looked like it went off his hands. It looked like it was a little bit high too, but it was right there. And I don't know if he's gonna make this team, because it's how do you want to build your wide receiver core? You hear Brian Billick talk about it. You want a basketball team out there. You want a big guy. You want a small possession guy. You want a medium-sized possession guy. You want a speed guy. You want all these different types of receivers to help you in specific situations. And I think Jaleel Scott's already going to make this roster, and he's already our big jump ball kind of specialist guy. And we also have Miles Boykin, another big kind of receiver. And it's like, do we have enough room for another big-bodied, long-arm possession receiver? I don't know. But he is a veteran, so he would, that kind of helps his case to make this team, help coach these younger guys, because our receiver core in general is a very young group. I think they can have a lot of success with Miles Boykin and Marquise Brown, Double M, Eminem, baby. Oh, man, duh. With Hollywood out there and Miles Boykin out there, we got the M&Ms. And Chris Moore, M&Ms, and the M&Ms. But, hell yeah. I said it multiple times. I think the starters are going to be Wee Sneed Moore Boykin. So, Willie Sneed, Chris Moore, Miles Boykin, because I've loved what I've seen from Chris Moore, which we'll break down him. I thought he had that awesome crosser over the middle, kind of in that end of the first half drive that ended up with the touchdown to Jaleel Scott. And I just think Chris Moore has played excellent, and he's shut me up about him not making this team. He is definitely a lock to make this roster now, at least in my opinion. And then next, Jaleel Scott, he also impressed me. I thought he made a ton of great plays. He had that touchdown catch. He's just so long. You just throw it up to him. And then there was that one play where he caught it for the first down, but they called him for offensive pass interference, which was like, he cut back for that back shoulder. He cut back, and the cornerback was still running, and he was trying to slow down. So he, put his hand on his back, basically. If you watch it full speed, that was not a push-off. But you slow it down, you're like, oh, man, there's a fucking push-off. That was not a fucking push-off. There's one earlier in the game, it might have been even Hayden Hurst, where he goes to his spot, straight up pushes the defender, and then turns around and stands there. And it's like, you're not going to fucking call that, but you're going to call it when the guy gently touches the swell of his back, the defender's back. How the fuck are you going to call that? Bullshit, son. I call bullshit. But I loved what I saw from Jaleel Scott. Also, Miles Boykin, I thought he had a pretty good game. He did have that one drop where it's kind of a little bit low and behind him, but he got both hands on the ball, and you want to see him make that play because Trace McSorley dropped it right over the cornerbacks out in front of him and between the safety and right to Miles Boykin. He would have gone out of bounds. You got to fucking catch that. But he also had that quick route, I think in the first quarter, where it ended up being like a 40-yard play where he caught it, got himself in position to cut right away as he caught it. And once he caught it, he was able to turn upfield. The defenders collided. And he was able to make a huge play. And man, he looks so goofy running on that play. I don't know if, maybe I should pay attention to him more. Does he always run like that? Because to me, he looked like Forrest Gump when he was running. Like before he caught the ball, he was Forrest Gump. And then after the play, he's running like Forrest Gump. He just looks kind of funny when he's running. Like, I was drafted to the Ravens. And once I got drafted, I was running. Anyways, Miles Boykin runs like Forrest Gump. I'm just putting it out there. In my opinion, he looks kind of like a Ricard running out there. You can't say retard, so we'll just call him Ricards. They prefer the term little people, okay? I should probably cut that out. No, fuck it, we're leaving it in. Sorry if you're listening to this and you're mentally... Is there a correct way to say it without offending anybody? Yeah? Is there a way to say someone's slow, I guess? You're slow. Anyways, we'll get off this topic. Is there any other receivers? Antoine Wesley, I didn't see him play at all. I don't even know if he got a snap in. I don't remember seeing him on any of the formations. He probably would have played in that fourth quarter, but, like I've said, and like you already know, the game was canceled due to weather. So I guess that is the whole offense. I'm sure there's some stuff that I missed. But let's make a salad. Let us move on to the defense. Let's just start up front. Some players that impressed me. Once again, Patrick Ricard. Like, goddamn savant. He's a Ricard. He's Ricarded. He just gets excellent push in passing situations and in the run game. As long as if he's going straight forward, he's good. He's quick. He's slippery. He's able to get into the backfield. I saw he got in on some sacks. There was that one play where the Cyrus Jones tip for that screen, and he got upfield and he tackled the quarterback right as he got it, and he was just a second late on like 3 or 4 separate occasions where he was able to tackle the quarterback and not get flagged for it because it was like so bang bang, they like to call those where it's like, oh, you can't tackle the quarterback after he throws it, but if it's close enough, you're allowed to do it. And so he was able to tackle the quarterback 3-4 times and get away with it because he was right there. He's in the face. Now a few times I saw if he's got to go laterally, he's not able to really hold up as well. He gets pushed around a little bit more when he's moving laterally, and you'd think that wouldn't be the case because he's quick and he's fast and slippery, but for whatever reason, he's trying to move laterally, and the offensive linemen, they're able to push him off in that case. But if he's going straight forward, I think that's where his power lies, he's playing like what I thought Willie Henry was supposed to play, and we'll get to Willie Henry in a little bit, but I think Patrick Ricard, he might be that third down inside interior pass rush specialist. Another player that impressed me a lot was Daylon Mack. I thought he had one of his best games this week. He was in the backfield just like Ricard. Every single pass play that he was in the backfield. He was getting in the face of the quarterback. I think only one time he was stood up, and that was because he was getting double teamed. I guess they were beating him quite often, and I saw him chase down 2 receivers where he got the tackle on like a screen play and actually caught the receiver. Same with Pat Ricard. I remember listening to the game. There was like a play. It was like a long pass, like 30 yards down the field, and there's a swarm of Ravens defenders who kind of got the tackle. And Pat Ricard was right there. You're talking about a guy who pass rushed, got close to the quarterback, and then ran 30 yards down the field to almost make the tackle. Now, who knows if there was some kind of crazy miracle where the guy spins out of all of our safeties and cornerbacks. Pat Ricard was right there to make the tackle. So beautiful. Love seeing that effort from not only Pat Ricard, but from Dalen Mack, someone who's willing to run sideline to sideline on every single play. Now, who knows if they can keep that up if they happen to be in on every single play, but it's very encouraging to see guys who want to play. You want to see that want. You want to see the want, okay? And I think they really want to play. They want to be on this team, and I think they're proving that they are making the squad, both of them, Dalen Mack and the Ricarded Ricard. Yeah, Dalen Mack, it's going to be weird because Michael Pierce, this is the end of this is the end of his contract this year. After this season, who knows what's going to happen? Will they be able to pay him and Brandon Williams? I don't think they will. Now, my hopes and dreams, what the Ravens do is they say, Brandon Williams, bye-bye. Give that money to Michael Pierce. Now, I love Brandon Williams, but, if you just want to get younger, you can have, I'd rather have Pierce and Dalen Mack than Brandon Williams and Dalen Mack. I think Michael Pierce is just a better player, more explosive. So, that's just a hope that I have. Maybe I'll break that down in another episode. So, I guess some other players on the D-line. We're including the outside linebackers in on this. Like Matt Judon, he looked very quick. Anytime he was in the game, he was the, anytime he would slow down the tape, he was the first off the ball. He looked very quick, and then he looked good in the game, at least getting off the ball. I guess, let's see, Tyus Bowser. Wow, I thought he looked very good too. He was getting in the way of the quarterback. I think he had 2 sacks, or at least 1 sack, and then he fell on the quarterback when he kind of mishandled the snap or something. But he was right there. He was getting the backfield, held up well in the run game. Man, and he still has that ability to cover out of the backfield. So I can't wait to see if the Ravens, they have Matt Judon and Tyus Bowser on the field at the same time, and they do that, everyone up on the line look, and you think, all right, so these guys are definitely coming because they're on the D-line. That's their position. But then they drop back, cover tight ends, and it can do it successfully. And then all the other guys, all the linebackers and other defensive linemen, they end up blitzing and making plays, and then that confuses the offensive line, and I just love that. Like that amoeba, morphing defense that you don't know where it's coming from. I love that. And I thought Tyus Bowser, he looked very, very good. Same with Tim Williams. I thought he also looked very good. He was living in the backfield all game and being disruptive with it. He was close to the quarterback on a lot of plays. Didn't hold up as well, I think, in the run game than Tyus Bowser did, but still held his own, just not as well. Because there was one play where he kind of stacked up the offensive lineman, the tackle, and got outside to make the play on like a sweep play. He just quite didn't make the tackle. Just quite didn't get his hands on him well enough. But he slowed down the runner enough that everyone came, the cavalry came, the flock flew in, going down south and made the tackle. Let's see. I think that's it for defensive line. That at least impressed me. I guess some guys that didn't impress me, kind of already spoke about him. Willie Henry, man, he just doesn't look as good. There was one play where I saw him get into the backfield. Now, obviously, I didn't break down every single play that he was in that I know of, but there's only one play where I noticed him in the backfield making a play, and that's it. He is not playing up to what I thought he was going to be. I thought everyone's predicting him to be this breakout candidate star kind of guy, and he just isn't really living up to it. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's only when the games count he turns it on. But, you think going against the 2s and 3s, he would have a lot of success, and I just wasn't seeing that. He was getting pushed off the line, going against double teams, which, it's a double team, but you'd like to at least someone hold their own. And he wasn't using his pass rush moves as well as I thought he was capable of. Another guy who didn't impress me was Shane Ray. This is the second week in a row where I'm really noticing Shane Ray and thinking, this guy, he might not make this team, man. He just did not look, oh shit, holy fuck. No, just looking at my iPad, and it's like bent. I mean, it still works. God damn it. Oh, just bent it back. I guess that's cool. Well, a little bit behind the scenes there. My iPad's bent. Either way, yeah, Shane Ray, he just did not look good. I didn't notice any pass rush where it's like, oh, that was good, that was nice. And then in the run game, he looked decent in the run game, except he would over pursue. When he's crashing down the line, I thought he crashed down excellently. He made a lot of headway and a lot of steam and pushed down the entire offensive line, but then he would over pursue, and the backs kept running off his backside. And it's like, if you're going to crash down and hold up. Don't just keep crashing until you're out of the fucking play. Like, he consistently, when he would crash down, end up on like the right side of the defensive line, like end up on the other side of the center. Basically, it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's kind of what he was doing, just over pursuing the shit out of every single play. And that's not something you want to see. And as a former first rounder, he's not looking good. Not looking good, man. So him and Willie Henry, if just at face value, I don't think they would make the team. But I think with Willie Henry, he's probably going to make this team. But just face value, it wasn't looking all that great. Was not looking too good. So I guess we'll move back into the linebackers. Nothing of note. I was excited to see Otaro Alaka, but he didn't make any splash plays. No one really did. Kenny Young, I don't think he had as many mistakes, or at least was out of position as much as he was the previous week versus the Packers. But no one really made any standout plays. Peanut was only in for like 1 or 2 series, but I liked what I saw from him. He looked like he was in position, made some tackles. The linebackers didn't really, at least the middle linebackers, they didn't really show too much to my knowledge. So I guess we'll move back a little bit further. We'll get to the corners. Now, it's hard, because you rewatch the game, and I don't have the coach's tape yet. They haven't released that shit yet. So when I rewatch it, it's still just the game view where the corners and the safeties, they're kind of just out of the screen, so you can really only see them when a play gets made on them or if they make a play. And so cornerback position, anybody impress me? Not really. Marlon Humphrey impressed me because he had that one play where he blew up that outside run. And it looks like that's going to be a common theme. So if teams aren't going to have success running up the middle, because they won't, because we're the Ravens and no one does, they're going to try to bounce it outside. And Marlon Humphrey is going to be there to smack someone right on the lips and knock him out. Because he is an excellent hitter. He almost looks like a linebacker. He looks freaking huge. So was impressed by him, but everybody else, not really impressed. I guess Cyrus Jones, he had a better game. There was only a few balls caught on him, but he was right in position to make the play. I guess there was that one, it was like a 3rd and 15. They passed it short of the line to gain, short of the first down marker, and he made the tackle right away. So that was beautiful. He did what he's supposed to do. You can allow the catch. You don't have to try to make the play on the ball because you just got to make sure they don't get past the first down marker. So I liked what I saw from him. He didn't have any breakdowns in coverage. So, and everybody else, besides I think Maurice Kennedy and like Stanley Jean-Baptiste, played decently. Their guys didn't really catch the ball at all. You didn't really hear their name that much, which is good. As a cornerback, you don't want to hear your name being called because usually, most of the time, like 8 times out of 10, or 4 out of 5, that's the issue. It's when you hear on a cornerback, it's because they got beat deep. Most of the time, that's why. And I didn't hear anything from anybody else except for Maurice Kennedy. I was not impressed by Maurice Kennedy. He got beat all game. Maybe it's because he had to play J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, but man, he was getting beat left and right. He was just getting so many balls caught on him, and I just don't see him making this team after the way he performed in this preseason so far. He played better in the regular season a couple years ago than he is now, so maybe the injuries kind of slowed him up or something, or he's just making wrong decisions. Either way, he's just not getting the job done, and I don't like what I've seen from him. I don't want to see him starting this year. And now that we don't have Tavon Young, I don't think Maurice Kennedy is the answer. There's also Jimmy Smith played. Didn't really see much from him. Saw him make a tackle on the outside, so he's played pretty decently. So him and Marlon Humphrey, you expected that. So there's nothing really to note with the cornerbacks. I guess we'll move back to safety now. And Deshaun Elliott was all over the field. I saw he had like one missed tackle. Man, he was making plays left and right. I don't really have many bad notes. There were a few plays where it's like he missed that tackle. He might have missed 2 tackles, but you gotta let that go, man. He played excellent in the other aspects of the game when he's literally in on like damn near every tackle in that third quarter because they kept moving the ball downfield and he was there. He had to be there to make the play, where he's like the safety valve. That's why they call it safety. But he had that one penalty and like leading with the helmet. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That was textbook. Like, I'm going to college, just spent $500 on textbooks. Like, that was perfect. Like, this is chapter tackling. This is example Deshaun Elliott from week 3 preseason. Perfect. That was a perfect tackle. And they called him for that shit. And even the announcers for the Eagles were like, I don't understand that. That is a perfect tackle. I mean, I guess we'll take it. Awesome. Helps the Eagles out. But they were like, this only confuses the players. And it does. Like, if you're gonna say, all right, here's how you tackle. Someone does that, then you flag it or throw a penalty. Like, what the fuck do you expect defensive players to do? You expect them to just like, oh, we'll just let you pass on by. We're the London Silly Nannies from, what was that, Family Guy? Either way, it's like, yo, let the man play football. He didn't even drop his helmet. Now his helmet was forward. Well, so what happens? What happens if a guy puts his hat on the ball? Like old school, when you tackle the guy, you put your helmet where the ball is. Are you not allowed to do that anymore? Are you not allowed to try to cause a fumble with your helmet? This is fucking ridiculous. How the hell are you going to call that? When there was even earlier in the game, the guy threw a quick throw to a wide receiver on the outside, and it was overthrown, and Deshaun Elliott blew him up when the ball was not catchable. Why is that not a fucking penalty? Defenseless receiver. Like, are you fucking kidding me? How are you not going to call that, but then call that perfect play? It's just bullshit. It's preseason for the refs too. Shut the fuck up. The refs they have a tough job. I get it. But they're making the wrong fucking penalties, man. And it's not cool. And it makes the game not fun to watch when you see bullshit penalties. It makes me hate myself, hate the team, just hate everything. I want to just like, I don't know, just turn off the game, I guess. But it just makes me angry. Makes me upset. And I am not a huge fan. Other than that, man, Bennett Jackson did not look good, so he's probably not going to make this team. Chuck Clark, there was that one play, man, he was like centimeters away from stopping that third down conversion. He tried to make the break on the route and get his hand on it, but just missed it. And I think Chuck Clark and Deshaun Elliott, both these guys, they're going to be on this team, and they might be part of the solution to being for the absence of Tavon Young. I've kind of talked about that previously, as the safety's kind of coming up and being the cornerback somewhat, helping down in that nickel role, because I think Deshaun Elliott deserves to be on the field this year. Like, I know we have Tony Jefferson and Earl Thomas, and those guys, they deserve to be the starters because they're excellent, but Deshaun Elliott, he is not far behind them. I think he is starter caliber, so any way that we can get him on the field, I think, is a plus for us. A plus for us. No fuss, no muss. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for my review of the team. Now, there's still one game left to go. I'm recording this on Sunday, and we do have a Sunday night game between the Steelers and Titans. But I want to talk about my picks from last week, because as of right now, I am 9-6. And so on Thursday, I killed it. The only game I got wrong were Redskins and Falcons, and that was like, what, a 1-point game? I forget. Let me look that shit up. with my bent-ass iPad. Quick, stay on the line. Let me go back. Let me look at these scores. Yeah, Redskins, Falcons. Oh, no, never mind. Redskins whooped 19-7. Falcons are trash. They have a 12-game preseason losing streak, literally the opposite of the Ravens. Because the Ravens are 16-0, baby. And I also got the Browns-Bucks wrong. But that was a Friday game, and they lost by 1 on that one. That was the one that I lost by 1. And I thought, man, I can't believe the Bucks pulled that one out. Very, very uninspiring. In Saturday's games, I was looking good until the breaking news that we got to talk about, that Andrew Luck is retiring. And once that kind of like made its way online, and I was watching the games, then all the teams that I rooted or picked to win, they started playing like trash. And I picked the Colts to win, and if I would have known about this, no way would I have picked the Colts. I guess it was a surprise to everybody, honestly, because I mean, obviously, when it comes to the game pick, that's in their minds. They're not going to be playing. Like, he wouldn't have played anyways, but that affects the way they're thinking. But wow, I guess the injuries became too mentally draining for him, mentally and physically draining for him, and he was saying in his press conference that it's just, he felt like a detriment to the team that he wasn't able to put all of him into football. He didn't want these injuries to make him resentful towards the game. I guess it was just too much for him, and he didn't feel like playing football anymore. That's just the easiest way to put it. Like, you can explain it multiple different ways, but he's just done with football. He's done with the injuries. He's done feeling like trash. And now he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and a lot of people in the Colts were, they were being hyped as one of the better teams in the AFC to make the playoffs. And now without Andrew Luck, I don't know, bro. I don't know. Now, if you happen to bet on futures in the NFL, and if you bet the under on the Colts, yeah, you got real happy. But now everyone's circling that Colts game because, they do have a pretty good team, but now without Andrew Luck, who the fuck knows? And apparently, I saw some reports that he's giving up on like $58 million in future money. So he obviously thought long and hard about this and thought, it ain't worth $58 million. So, wow, yeah, and after that news, man, everyone played like trash that I picked to win. Except for the Cowboys. The Cowboys just utterly dominated. That was a shutout. And then Saints-Jets, the Jets were in the lead, and then right when that news came out, they started playing like trash. I picked the 49ers to beat the Chiefs, and that ended up being the right call. But the Broncos-Rams. That was, if I had known, I didn't know that the Rams were playing in the Coliseum, and if I would have known that the atmosphere, because I don't think they've played there yet this preseason, but if I would have known the atmosphere that kind of LA has built in that stadium, I would not have picked against them because they got like a DJ there. They're playing music after every single play. It seems like a real party. Even the announcers there, it's like a party atmosphere. So, it's going to be tough to pick against them when they're at home just because I think that atmosphere is going to play a huge role because it's kind of like a party there. But, parties can be the best day of your life, or, oh my God, this is like the worst day of my life. That party was the worst. I can't believe. So, who knows? But the Rams in the regular season, they're going to have all their starters because they're not a deep squad. That's why I picked the Broncos. But I think that party atmosphere really got the players juiced and excited. And Seahawks, Chargers, same thing. I thought that was a pretty close one. What did that one end up being? 23-15. That one, it was closer than that score says. They started coming back towards the end, and I was really hoping they would. So we got Steelers and Titans tonight. I could either go 10-6 or 9-7. I want to go 10-6, really kind of lock up that playoff position. You know what I'm saying? Because last week we went 11-5, and the week before we went 6-10. So I want to really just bring that average number up. I want to be in the positive here. But all in all, man, doing pretty good. Well, when I do the breakdown for the Ravens versus Redskins game, I'll do my game picks there. And then once the regular season comes around, I will be able to do my reviews of the game much quicker because our games will most on average be on Sunday or Monday, and I have Sunday, Monday, and Tuesdays off. So, like with all these Thursday games, it's I gotta work Friday, I gotta work Saturday. So I'm tired after work. I don't feel like watching the game again and then doing a podcast. So if I watch the game again on like a Friday after work, it's then like close to 10 o'clock, and I feel like going to bed and not recording a podcast. Because once you record a podcast, your brain, you're kind of juiced. You're excited. It's tough to go to sleep after this. Not this one I'm recording. It's like 12 o'clock right now. But yeah, man, that Andrew Luck. I guess it was week of the retirement because the Ravens they signed a linebacker, and then less than 24 hours after they signed him, he decided to retire. So I guess maybe he got word of Andrew Luck retiring and was like, I'm gonna do the same thing. I guess it's just the day of retirement, man. Like, man, Andrew Luck, the Jesus, the promised land, the 2012 draft. Quarterback draft class. It's so funny. Like, this is the year of the quarterback, or quarterbacks aren't that good this year. So the year that the quarterbacks weren't top notch is the year that we got Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Mitch Trubisky. I don't think he's like all that great, but he's playing pretty well. Another year, like what we got Dak Prescott. Like, what? Like, they obviously draft pundits, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And that's why drafting is so exciting. And one of my favorite aspects of the game, because it's such a crapshoot that you don't fucking know what's going to happen with the future. Because it matters what team you go to, how you're used. It depends on the system. But, like, seriously, it's like the quarterbacks this year aren't that good. And that was the year that we got Deshaun Watson, Mitch Trubisky, and Patrick Mahomes. The MVP of the league, Patrick Mahomes. People are like, yeah, he's not that great. I'm sure there's another name in there, but it's like, people don't know. People don't know. And then this year, the year of the quarterback, they ended up actually being right. Because we got a Lamar Jackson. We got a Baker Mayfield, even though he played like ass. No one's going to talk about that, though. He played like ass this week. That's why the Browns lost. He played like fucking shit. Because he can't throw to the left. Now, I just remember seeing on Ravens Reddit, someone posted a video of just make Baker throw to the left. And there's just a cut up of all the incompletions he had to the left. Maybe he's not as good to the left, but no, they're just fudging with the highlights. But I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, because there was a couple throws in this game. It's like he just didn't make the throw to the left, and I just instantly thinking of that video. Like, man, you just can't throw to the left, bro. Just throw to the left, bro. But I think that might do it for me here. Yeah, once the regular season starts going, I might do a separate episode for my game picks. I don't really know. After break down the games, I might try to do 3 a week. Do a breakdown of the upcoming game, or a preview of the upcoming game, then a breakdown of that game, and then a weekly game picks. And I might try to do that with someone else, so we can kind of keep track, and then maybe hopefully win some money this week. So, with that being said, I am going to end this episode, and I will see you next time when I break down the Baltimore Ravens versus the Redskins preseason week 4. End of the preseason, baby. Let's get into this regular season. Let's get hyped. I am craving some Raven. Got a fever, and the only prescription is some more Ravens football. Anyways, thanks again for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, notifications, all that fun stuff. I've said that 1,000 times. And if you're listening, please help me out. Do all that. And I will leave you with a